Thank you for learning Siebel with the Siebel Hub. We have a unique, comprehensive and always up-to-date collection of Siebel CRM 2021 training classes. We can deliver live online and on-site training in the highest quality with the most experienced instructors. And we also offer a unique modular Siebel CRM 20 and 21 training. Follow the links in the description or on this slide to learn more and learn Siebel with the Siebel Hub. Hello and welcome to the Siebel 20 workshop. My name is Alexander Hansal and I'm happy that you can join me for the update summary for 20.11. The Siebel CRM update 20.11 was released in November 2020 and these are the highlights of this update. The Web Tools-based script editor and debugger is now generally available. So this is the most important feature that is delivered in this release, and we will cover it in great detail in this session. There's also enhancement for the inbound REST API with support for total record count. Oracle support tells us there is a certification for Oracle Autonomous Database 19c with 20.11. Interesting change in the migration application as tasks are no longer activated automatically during incremental migration. And there's a change in DISA as to the whitelist parameter now being renamed to the less insensitive allow list. And Tomcat gets an update too, so the AI and SES Tomcats get updated to 9.0.37. So let's take a look at these highlights in a bit more detail. First and foremost, the Web Tools script editor and debugger now is generally available. So when you update to 20.11 or higher and open up Web Tools, the debug menu and the bug icon are no longer inactive. They might have been active anyway for you if your company is a member of the early adopter program and has access to the controlled release version of the script editor and debugger in Web Tools, but now it's available to the general public. So the script editor is integrated in Web Tools, so you can launch it in your browser, and it's built to resemble what we have so far in Siebel Tools in terms that you can edit server scripts for applets, business components, business services, etc. And the editor supports the eScript and Visual Basic server script languages. Also, there's an editor for browser scripts, but that, keep in mind, these are the traditional browser scripts that we inherited with the web architecture since Siebel 7. And with OpenUI, you should not write any browser script, or you should even try to get rid of any legacy browser script. Then there's the server script debugger, which is separate from the script editor, which might come as news because in Siebel Tools the script editor and debugger is kind of integrated. So the server script debugger in Siebel Web Tools is a separate panel where you can open an object, see the code, add breakpoints, and then start a debugging session, which requires an application object manager to be up and uses a new debug server, which runs on the Siebel server. So there's also a change in the architecture. So the update 20.11 also introduces a new feature for the Siebel inbound REST API, namely support for record count in GET operations on the data and on the workspace API. So these are two APIs that support queries for either business data or repository data. Remember, the workspace API is only available on development environments. And the feature is that you can add a new query parameter, record count needed, and set it to true to the URL. So that's a query parameter which goes in the URL. And if that is present with a value of true, then the application executes an additional query to retrieve the total record count and adds a response HTTP header named total-record-count. As you can see in the screenshot below, the query has 12 records as a total result. So that is counting the visibility of records for the user, or the view mode that is set in the request. And also Oracle warns us that the additional query and retrieving the record count comes at an extra cost, an extra load on the database, etc. So we should only use it when a record count is needed. With 20.11, there are some changes in the migration application, which are quite subtle, and they are only mentioned in the release notes document. So let's reiterate what activating workflow processes and tasks, so the two objects that before 20.7 have to be activated both. So in the situation, if you are on a Siebel version prior to 20.7, if you use the full migration in the migration application, then after the repositories are renamed and the Siebel enterprise is restarted, administrators must run the Siebel runtime metadata publisher service, that business service, manually to activate all the active workflow processes and tasks that are delivered by the full migration to the mandatory design repository tables. And as it is the case in prior to 20.7, both workflow processes and tasks or objects need to be activated, so they are copied to so-called runtime tables. So this is a manual task after full migration. And during incremental migration, the migration application included a step to run this business service automatically and to activate any updated workflow processes and tasks. So now in 20.7, there was a change in the workflow process architecture, as they're now delivered through runtime repository tables, and any activation is obsolete in that sense. So the only activation is the workflow process active in the repository or not. As such, the metadata publisher service did no longer cover workflow processes, it only covered actually the tasks, which are still in a sense not managed by workspaces and activated in the traditional way. And with 20.7 and higher, the only change was that now the manual run for that business service or the automatic run only concerned the tasks. But in 20.11, the release notes tells us, quote, tasks are no longer activated automatically during incremental migration, unquote. And that means that administrators must run the Siebel runtime metadata publisher service manually after a full migration and also after an incremental migration to activate tasks. In the bookshelf guide about desktop integration Siebel agent, or DISA, we are being told that in 20.11 and higher, the whitelist parameter has been renamed to allow list. Changes of that sort are initiatives by software vendors to remove racially or gender insensitive terminology from their software. So whitelist being a problematic term here, and the rename to allow list comes at a good time. And experiments have shown that if you install DISA 220.11, it seems to accept both parameter names in a kind of backwards compatibility, we would guess. So this author, yours truly, tried both settings in the config.properties file, and DISA continued to work. So it's likely that in the future, whitelist will no longer be an accepted parameter, but time will tell. So here we are with the highlights of 20.11. So we have seen the new generally available web tools, script editor, and the server debugger. We have seen the the changes for the inbound REST API. We have talked about the changes in the migration application and DISA, along with the certification and Tomcat updates. So thanks for now, and bye-bye.